We're rolling.
Yes! Yeah!
Come on, please just always come out and have a look at the outfit. And then you can do it if you do it like that.
Nice! Hello, Dirk.
Hi, Ash.
We've had a really nice weekend. You've come over to do a seminar for Vislor. Before we get into that, can you just introduce yourself for people who might not know who you are?
Yes, no problem at all. So, my name is Dirk. I'm 37 years old, come from Germany. So I'm originally from the Black Forest. Nowadays I live close to Stuttgart as I'm working as a mechanical engineer for a car brand, developing electric motors, and so I'm into the dog sport since ever. So I was introduced by my father right from the beginning up to now, almost 30 years of experience in it.
When did you start?
I started dog sport with about 10 years old, so I then did my first try with the old lady of my father. That was the first steps I've done, and then from 13 on I had my own one.
It's a very family-friendly sport in Germany, isn't it?
It is.
You get a lot more. They get them young over there. Also, you were the helper at the Bundessieger. Is it just once or multiple times?
I've been helper at the Bundessieger twice now. When I've worked, I've been one time that one who's just used in case
The reserve.
the reserve one, yeah, and I've been lucky to work it twice. Once 2009 in Donaueschingen, and last year in Karlsruhe once again. So yeah.
For those who don't know, the Bundessieger is the German national championships for IGP. And how many dogs are we talking in a trial?
So on the Bundessieger, it's about 130 dogs.
So imagine working 130 dogs in a row. How are you feeling after that?
Tired.
Yeah.
Very tired. So it's exhausting. You do work 8 up to 9 hours each day without a break, staying concentrated, staying focused. Many people looking on you, and very, very fast dog. I have all the time worked a long attack. So, and the dogs have even become faster over the years. So was a very, very difficult challenge. But yeah, I think also the responsibility on that part is very high. So in order to not have any health issues with the dog, don't have any injuries. So, but it was a great experience. So I'm really lucky.
And I'm knackered after 5 dogs. So this weekend, mainly about protection work with the dogs. We didn't do tracking or obedience, but it was about training the dogs. It was also about training our young helpers or our new helpers, because we've got a lot of people who are just starting, and we've got some experienced helpers that wanted new ideas and training. What did you think of the people, the dogs that we worked this weekend? How did you feel it went? And do you feel like you achieved the things that you wanted to achieve whilst you were here?
For me, it was a great weekend staying here. So first of all, we had a lot of fun. So I think that's the most important thing. Without fun, it doesn't count, at least for me. I felt the passion you have here for dogs too. That's very important for me. You have on the one hand very, very good dogs here from my point of view. Very, very good prey drive overall dogs. But then you have also very interested and motivated helpers, the beginners that are very into the sport and interested in learning new things. So that was very easy for me, because I felt right from the beginning, okay, all the people stayed at my words because they want to learn from my experience. And that's why I think it was a really great weekend in total. And I think we achieved all.
Yeah, I mean, we did this, was it 11 years ago, 10 years ago? You came to our old club when we lived in Hereford, and that's where I was the young starting helper then. And I remember the difference between, we have in England a helper licensing where it's a 1 day a year where helpers are taught how to work and catch dogs, and it's about licensing helpers to work dogs in trials. And that's basically all we have in terms of education for helpers. Everything else is kind of club based. It's just, you learn yourself with your head trainer at your club. Whereas in Germany, you have a whole system around teaching helpers, and you were...
Yeah.
Are you still, I'm guessing you still are a teacher?
Yes, I'm still.
Yeah. I've been through the process, but can you just sort of explain what you're trying to teach people when you're working with new helpers?
I separate it into two parts. So one is working at the trial, where you have just the technical things like the escape or catching the dogs at the long flight, doing the drive and so on. That's a technical part you need for a trial. But for me, when I come to clubs or even to here to teach you, for me it's much more important to learn, get a feeling how you can distinguish between the drives of a dog. Is he more in prey? Is he more in some kind of aggressional behavior? Does he feel comfortable? Is he maybe nervous? That's much more important, to get an eye and a feeling for that, and then promote each and every dog in a way that you can strengthen the positive things, get rid of the weaknesses of the dog or lower that. So that's the most important thing, because it would be good for the last three days if I would have worked all the dogs, but then when I'm gone, it doesn't make sense for you, because it's much more important that the young helpers, also the unexperienced ones, know what I'm doing, and then that they are able to move that on after I'm gone. So because that's my sense behind it, to train the helper, get a feeling for the dog, and then learns how to promote each and every single dog, because every dog behaves different and you cannot have one routine working for all.
Yeah. We had a little presentation, you did a talk the first thing Friday morning. Is that something that you've made, or is that a standard thing that you teach, like all teaching helpers kind of have that same set of notes to teach people?
I think in there are many general things, but I've done it not by my own. So Jochen, the judge who will come, he has also done some slides in it. So it is some fundamental information, or
is it from the SV? Is it like
no, we have done it by ourselves. So but of course the elements in it are in general known, but for me it was important to bring it all together, to learn that before we start working with the dogs, because once the dog is on the ground, I would like to take care of the dog, instead of teaching then all the basic and fundamental stuff. We have done that by ourselves, so it's let's say some kind of co-creation of a couple of teaching helpers we're working with, because we want to start now also this training, especially for unexperienced helpers in Germany, to get that increased, because it's the same situation in Germany. We do have good helpers working on trials, but over the time, the number of helpers who are able to really promote the young dogs to improve their behavior, that went down dramatically. So that's a big problem in Germany.
Part of the presentation as well was about promoting the sport to more general people, and how we demonstrate what we're doing and why it's positive for the dogs. And this is what we've been working on, this weekend is really about getting the dogs to do the best they can in a way that's fair for them and fun for them.
Yeah. In Germany, we faced the issue that there has become another dimension to the sport in total, but especially to protection work, the society, but also the animal welfare. And then the people are thinking, okay, what's the reason for letting your dog biting people? So we really need to rethink about how we train dogs and why we train dogs. So what's the sense behind protection work? And for me, for how we train, it's for me very important that we be fair to the dogs. Of course, we need some discipline in, and we need obedience. That's a main part of it. But I think it's very important how we get to that. And then the other thing, as I've said, protection work. There is a lobby wanting to not allow protection work any longer. So there's a discussion going on in the society. And I think we need to bring over the idea that every dog has some kind of prey drive, and it's a normal instinct. We can help the dog to, how can I say?
Express itself.
Yes, to express itself, and to lower these drives he has into. So as when you're a sporty person, you need to run to get down your energy, and I think something like that is protection work for a dog, and it's all about the sleeve. In Germany, we call it all about the prey all the time. So once he has the sleeve, he is happy. It's not about biting people. It's about fighting against the prey, and the prey is all that counts. So that's why prey has become a much more important over the year, and by that you can explain the people that now have a look. He has the sleeve, so no aggression towards me as a helper. I can get to him, I can touch him, no problem at all. And then it becomes more comfortable for the people, even not knowing the sport. Okay, that's fine. It's not a harm, it's not a danger.
I think at this point during the video, we're going to have loads of footage of dogs just having fun, and they sort of speak for themselves when they're working and they're happy.
I call it some kind of martial art. For me, it's a martial art thing too. And martial art has rules. The rules must be obeyed. You need to have discipline. You need to have control over the dog. That's very, very important. So that's why I think that's also a very, very good way to bring down the drives and the energy of the dog in a very, very controlled and directed way.
Taking them to their highest drive and teaching them to have self-control as well, which is it's such an important skill for the dogs to have. And my dogs, they're all family dogs. They all live in the house with me. They go to the pub, they go everywhere, and then I bring them to the field and they have a great time. And in Germany, there's a culture around the dogs. The dogs, they are supposed to be family dogs as well as work.
Yes. In Germany, we call it, and I do not know if that word exists directly into English, but we call it impulse control, because my kids aren't allowed to follow every impulse they have. The society has rules, and that's the same in protection work. So we learn the dog right from the beginning. You may not allow to follow every impulse you have. There must be some control, and then it's fine. And a more stable, a more balanced dog in total.
Yeah. We've had it with clients. People come with pet dogs that are very nervous, very reactive, and then you teach them to do simple things, to go onto a mark or to do the agility, and you can take a lot of stress out of a dog through teaching them sporty things. And even the dogs that we've had this weekend, some of them were previously pet dogs that had problems, and now they're out there doing sport, and their whole life has been changed. So it does work to change the attitude of dogs that have problems. So what did you think of the dogs in general, the quality of what you worked this weekend?
Very, very good quality from our point of view. Most of the dogs very good balanced in the nerves and very high prey drive. I think you have very, very high prey drive, very well socialized dog. That's very important for me, because I do not want to get bitten anywhere else than the sleeve. So I rely on my health as everybody else. So that's very important for me. I was very into the dogs I've seen here over the last 3 days. But that was the same experience and the same impression I've got when I come here 10 or 11 years before. So I think especially you in your club, the people you're working with, very, very good dogs for protection work.
But it's changed a lot. The dogs that we had then are so different to the dogs we have now. And even the methods that we're using, it's one of the things that we did debate about was the use of the mark.
On your mark. On your mark. On your mark. On your mark. On your mark. On your mark. On your mark.
For the position in the hold and bark in the blind, we got the poles, and the dog runs around the pole, comes to the mark, and the idea is we're trying to get this perfect position, because one of the big problems we had, especially a few years ago, was dogs running into the helper and pushing too close and bumping the sleeve, which is, it loses points, it's bad.
Yeah.
But then you thought that maybe we'd lost sight of the attitude of the dog coming into the hide, because the dog's looking for the mark first and then barking at the helper second.
Yeah, so that's the thing I felt too, as you have explained. So when it comes to the hold and bark, at the end we want a dog that gets into contact with the helper right from the beginning, who solves a conflict with the helper. So conflict working for us is very important at the hold and bark, so that you get a very stable, dominant and powerful hold and bark over the time. And then of course this technique is important, but it's not all about the technique. So for me, it's not about the perfect position. When the dog has a very good attitude and a very powerful way of getting in contact with me as a helper, the position doesn't matter for me.
It's the priority is.
Yeah, I would list the priority in another way.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very, very good basic work to learn it for the dog. But once you have learned it and he has the position and he is, we call it clean in front of the helper, he is not bumping at the sleeve, because of course you need to take care of that. But once that is fixed, I think it's into the blood of the dog that he isn't allowed to bump. Then I think you can start working on the attitude, and that's what I call this bray aggression, this fight over the sleeve, over the bray. Then you can bring in that to become a more dominant and a more active and a more powerful dog. What would be my suggestion for you to work on in the future?
It's basically it's an obedience exercise coming into the mark. It's good to give them the idea of what they're supposed to be doing in that situation, but then what we've done is work on actually getting the dog, as you say, to solve a conflict. And it's been really interesting to do, because it never hurts to do the same thing in lots of different ways. And a lot of the helpers are going to start thinking more deeply about what it is they're actually doing, because you when you're learning, all you're trying to do is get all the moves right. But we've been thinking about the dogs more. I mean, you at the presentation when everyone was introducing themselves, they're all saying, "Yeah, I want to learn how to catch dogs like you. I want to learn how to, like, they fly through the air and I run through them." And I could see in your face, you're like, "Yeah, but if you're athletic and you can move, that's not a problem. The thing that we need to."
So the issue is to create dog you can look good at. You can do the long flight and look very spectacular. You need that way up to that level, and that's more important. If you're not able to handle that, you will not become dogs you can look good at as a helper. So first do step 1, and then step 2 is coming automatically. So, but don't get me wrong, I think you get the dog to a very, very good level up to now. But now, once you want to come even one step higher, I think you need to rethink about, as you've said, the priority, especially in the hold and bark. So, but don't get me wrong, it's not, you do not have a bad level at all. The level is still very good.
10 years is too long. A gap between the first one and the next one. So do you think you'd like to come over and do some more stuff like this?
Oh, whenever you invite.
Yeah, okay.
That's not an issue.
Keep an eye out then, because we might be having more, and we could open it up to, whoever's interested.
Yes, of course.
You seem like you're quite keen to do more.
Of course I am, and that's not because of the dogs or the sport. That's just because of you as people here around here. I've mentioned it yesterday when we did an official end. I think it's so lovely people here. So you're some kind of a family. You can feel it right from the beginning, and it's very easy, at least for me, to get into that. So of course, whenever you invite me, I will be ready.
Well, I recommend, if you're interested in protection work or being a helper, you taught me all the fundamentals all those years ago, and when people say, "Oh, that's good," I was like, "Yeah, Dirk taught me." You have really become a very good helper.
I
mean, Dad taught me as well. He taught me.
I've never seen him with the sleeve.
Oh, well,
maybe next time.
We should bust it out. It's always it's an event. he has a style.
Okay. I'm looking forward to see that.
All righty, I think that'll do, won't it? Unless there's anything else we've missed.
No.
No?
Perfect for me.
Okay.